Donald Trump says not doing any more debates. So Fox News responded by canceling the debate. Is that the right thing for Trump to do? Here to discuss is the proprietor of right-wing news, John Hawkins. Welcome back to America Trends.
Thank you so much for having me on, Gina.
All right, John Hawkins, a lot goes down between the times that you and I get to talk to one another. And this week, a lot of things changed. Where's your head in all this right now?
Well, are you talking about the general election race?
The primary election, yes.
I have to say, if you're not a Trump fan, which I am not, it really looks bad. Between Kasich and Rubio staying in way too long, they probably peeled about 200 delegates off of Cruz's count. He's way behind. Kasich is still in. The establishment is telling Cruz they want an apology before they'll consider backing him. There's no major ad buys going against Trump. I think Trump is on a glide path to either take the nomination outright or come very, very close. So now it's possible Cruz could still beat him, but you need a lot of things to happen that are unlikely to happen. So, yeah, I think Trump is on track to take it.
Eric Erickson said today that he's having a meeting, I believe tomorrow, with a group of invitation-only purist conservative types. I wasn't invited, John. I'm kind of hurt by that. But anyway, he says that they are going to find a way to have a third-party candidate in all of this. I want to get your thoughts on that.
I am not a fan of that or a contested convention. If the establishment guys, and I don't think Eric's really all that establishment, but if the establishment guys don't want him, they should have backed Ted Cruz. I mean, the whole idea that they're going to swipe it from a convention or we're going to have a third party, it's doomed before it starts. I mean, who's going to get involved in that in the first place when you know you're going to get 6 or 8% of the vote? There's no point. I mean, just take your medicine. It's going to be a disaster, whatever happens at this point. We're probably not only going to lose the election, we have 4 to 8 years of pain coming. Just accept it. It is what it is.
Is there any way that you can see that a brokered convention does more good than harm?
No.
And explain that, because I think a lot of people think, hey, you know, if we go to a brokered convention and everybody's honest, you know, the right guy will come out on top, maybe the guy with the most delegate votes to date, and people aren't that afraid of that. Why do you say that that's going to be a disaster?
Well, you know, if Trump goes in with the most delegates, who can you possibly pick that's going to make his supporters happy and it's going to be acceptable to the establishment? I mean, pretty clearly Cruz isn't it. And, you know, you set yourself up for failure the moment you go to it. Plus, all the establishment does is care about, hey, as long as we lose, it's fine if we're in charge. So we don't need to do that again. You know, we don't need to lose again just because they're in charge and think that makes it better. The only plus side I think some of these people say is, all right, well, Donald Trump is so unthinkable, so horrible that if we replace him, you know, at least we're not tagged with having someone like that in our party. But he's still the guy people want. And if that's what it is what it is.
Yeah, I wonder, John, just for somebody like you, I think that you know, I debated Katie Pavlich on this topic today. I don't know if you happened to see it on Fox News.
I did not, but Katie, like you, is a sweetheart.
Well, her perspective is, of course, that she doesn't want Donald Trump and that she's kind of a never-Trump person. My perspective is that I want whomever I believe can win in the general election. And I guess I'm just not as afraid of Donald Trump, mostly because of people who have endorsed him, that are very close to him, whom I trust very well. For example, Phyllis Schlafly and some others. So people just see it differently. But John, here was my question for Katie that I didn't really feel like I got a satisfactory answer to, and I'm hoping you can help me. If I were on the side where I started seeing that I'm actually aligned with the George Soros AstroTurf mob, right? The statist, liberal, horrible mob.
Sure.
If I found myself on a side with the establishment GOP, God forbid, that I've been fighting all these years, the mainstream media that I've been fighting all these years, not to mention the DNC and Hillary, I would have to question my perspective. And the reason that I'm not questioning my perspective, which has never been an endorsement of Trump, it has always been he has a right to be on the ballot, just like any other candidate has a right to be on the ballot. Let the voters decide. That's always been my perspective. The reason I don't question my position is because I'm not aligned with them. John, is that what made you sort of pull back and go, all right, we have to stop the third-party talk, the convention talk, all the rest of it?
No. Listen, if I had a choice, if you put a gun to my head and said vote for Donald Trump or die, my blood and brains would end up splattered all over the ballot. because there's no chance I'm personally going to vote for him. I'm not going to encourage people to third party or go out and do a convention and try to swipe it from him or any of this stuff. I have enough respect for the people that are voting for him. But I would also say that I think for a lot of people who look at him a little differently, like me, I look at him and say, hey, I could never vote for a guy who's okay with his campaign manager assaulting women, who's okay with violence at his rallies, who is okay with forcing our troops to commit war crimes. I mean, you can go on and on.
One of those guys that honestly believes that the mobs at his rallies, as Ted Cruz said, are somehow Trump's fault. Because these are the same Soros astroturfers that astroturfed tea parties that you and I both went to.
Those people are horrible. I have nothing good to say about them. But when Donald Trump says he will bail out a guy, or is thinking about bailing out a guy who assaulted a protester and said maybe next time we should kill him, or he suggested, hey, we should have riots if I don't get what I want at the convention, that's not a good guy. It's not a good person. It's an authoritarian. And there's nothing less American than having an authoritarian leader.
Well, I don't want to debate that with you, only because we have so little time. But I guess my point is, once and for all, you're not one of those who believes that that Donald Trump is somehow responsible for what people do at his rallies, understanding that if it were your candidate, for example, Ted Cruz, who was drawing 25,000 people per rally, he would have had those same violent acts at his thing. And trust me, if Ted Cruz ends up being the nominee somehow, which I don't see how that could happen, but if it did, I promise you, those same Soros astroturfers will be even more violent about Ted Cruz.
I'm sure. And Donald Trump is absolutely 100% not responsible for what the Black Lives Matter, Soros goons are doing. He is responsible, though, when he encourages violence of his own. And he does. And that's not okay. I guess the point being is that, I like to be on the high ground. I like to be able to say, listen, those guys are 100% at fault. We're 100% blameless. It's not true with Trump. And I wish it was. It's not. He's the one guy it's not true with. And I don't really, as a party, think we should be getting into encouraging violence.
So you won't be able to vote for him anyway. We're out of time, but just you won't be able to vote for him no matter what.
I'm actually dropping my Republican Party registration, going independent, as long as he's run as the nominee.
Interesting. All right, John Hawkins, Right Wing News. We always appreciate you being on the show.